Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 44th CALLERLAB Convention in Mesa, Arizona. Today is Monday, April 10th, 2017, and this is the styling session. I am Susan Morris. I am the moderator, and our panelist today is Bob Briggs. For those of you that don't know me, I'm from Redmond, Washington, in the greater Seattle area. I've been calling for 20 years. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to talk kind of in general terms for a little bit, and then we'll turn it all over to Bob, and he's going to actually demonstrate some things and answer your questions. So if you have questions, raise your hand, and I will bring this microphone to you. You need to identify your name and where you're from for people listening to the tape so that they know what the questions are when they hear the answers. Okay? So that takes care of the start. So styling is executing dance moves in the correct way, smoothly, as the square working together as a team. And it really needs to be the caller and the dancers working together as the team. The dancers need to be doing the calls as we present them or as we tell them, but we also need to be presenting them in a smooth fashion so that the choreography flows together. And sometimes that's easier than other times because we're not feeling well, we didn't really plan what we were doing, we haven't done our homework. We do both have handouts that you can pick up later, or we'll pass out in a little bit. So dancers, from what I see the dancers need, is they need to know how to do the call. They need to know which hand to use. Is it a hand hold? Is it an arm turn? They need to know how the square works. Like when heads promenade, the sides need to breathe in and breathe out, or counter dance in and out. They need to touch hands at the end of each call. In the Northwest, several of us that go to one Callers Association have talked about touching hands at the end of each call so that dancers know their formation, and always keep preaching, keep the squares small. And I notice as more and more of us have done that, the dancing has gotten smoother and the dancers are more successful. It's very hard when we have large square dance halls and only one or two squares. It's easy to get spread out. So the caller and the dancers have to be conscious of keeping the square small. And I know my husband, if he's whatever man he is, he marks a spot. It's like, that's my spot, and when we promenade, I'm going to get back to that spot, and keeps the square from drifting all over the hall. A couple of summers ago, we had a summertime dance, and there was a square from a club that I don't normally dance with or call for, and they were always broken down. They go, why are we always broken down? I said, well, if you keep your square small, you'll be successful. And they go, well, we've only had one square in this huge hall for lessons. I go, keep your square small. It's also good if dancers have eye contact with other dancers rather than looking at the floor. You can't really tell who you're dancing with if you're looking at the floor. And that a square is a team. You have to work together as a team. A couple years ago, I was teaching spin chain the gears at my plus class, and I said, this is a team sport. You have to all work together. Nobody can go too fast. Nobody can go too slow. And it was like a drill team. I mean, it was like the first night. I was like, whoa, do this all the time, people. So that's some of the things that dancers need to know to help with their styling and successful dancing. But things that callers need to know to help that is you need to know the calls. You need to know the definitions. And first on that is you need to read the current definitions. How many read them every year? How many know that since the 1st of March, there have been 3 changes in the mainstream definitions? Do all of you know that? Not everybody, right? And you especially need to read it before you start teaching a class, so that you're not teaching old styling. And along with that, we tend to teach as we learned to dance. Now, some of us learned to dance a long time ago, and some of the styling has changed, and we need to read up on the current one so that we're not teaching it the way we learned it. The other is to deliver the calls with correct timing to help facilitate smooth dancing, enunciation, and diction, particularly as our population ages. Those that are hard of hearing, even with hearing enhancement, don't necessarily hear what we say. I have a couple of dancers that are very confused with right and left. Now, to those of us that hear well, they sound totally different, but if you have some kind of hearing loss, they sound the same. As callers, we need to avoid this stop and start dancing. You know, square through 4, wait, 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 right and left through. You want to do it smoothly. And the other thing that I find that helps is if you dance with your dancers. Sometimes we're so busy we're calling every night and we don't have time to dance, but I think we need to make a point of going and dancing with our dancers so that we see what the issues they're having, but they also know that we know how to dance. But then for doing that, we need to model good dancing, like 32-beat grand squares with no swings in them, back-to-back do-sa-dos. When I was a new caller and started teaching, somebody asked if I practiced what I preached, and I go, absolutely. Then several years after that, somebody at CALLERLAB asked if I did the swing. My husband and I did the swing do-sa-do, and I go, no. And they go, do they do it a lot in the Northwest? I go, no. But then I realized they don't when we're dancing with them, because they know we do the back-to-back do-sa-do to model that. But more and more are doing the back-to-back do-sa-do. So the bottom line is we really need to practice what we preach in terms of good dancing, good styling, good timing. So my bottom line is be kind, be courteous, trust each other, work together as a team, don't rush, smile, and have fun. So that's kind of my introduction with what kind of the foundation of styling, and I will turn it over to Bob, and I will add if I need to add.
All right. Styling to us is a simple thing, and as you can tell, I like to wander around. Turn me down just a hair. I'm blowing in the wind. Can you put on a piece of music? Just any piece of pattern music. My power chord has gotten mixed up with somebody else's power chord, and now I don't have any music. So if I'm standing here and I'm standing with my weight on my heels, and I'm standing, like I would in a square without music, when the music comes on, I tend to shift into dance position, meaning my feet come apart, my knees get bent, I put my hands out, and I'm ready to dance. When you talk styling, you have to talk about what you're doing. Now, we've been saying for decades, square dancing is like walking. To be quite honest, I'd like to say, no, it is not. Because when I dance, I'm going to slide my feet. And notice my head's not going up and down. I'm not bouncing. I'm sliding my feet. I'm walking with the music. I sometimes refer to it as keeping my motor running. And even when I'm standing at home, my feet are moving. Maybe a balance. Notice I'm dancing with the music. I'm one of those people that people look at in squares and they go, don't they dance well? The only reason why they get to say that is because I'm spending my time dancing to the music. Because I'm dancing. right? You feel it? All right, that's the first thing. So my knees are bent, just a hair. I'm on the balls of my feet. Notice I can move in any direction, and notice that my motor is running with the music. If the music was slower, I'd be slower. If the music was faster, I'd be out of breath. All right. Thank you. So the point I want to make about styling is it's how you dance and how you stand. If you stand with your weight on your heels, slumped over, looking at the floor, are you ready to dance? Do you have style? No, you don't. This is my wife. This is Alan. And we don't get to dance a lot together because I'm calling or she's cueing or whatever. So when we do things, the other thing is we grew up in our square dance lives in the shadows of the Rocky Mountains and with the heritage of Lloyd Shaw and with a regional difference of hands up choreography. And you'll see in my handout I acknowledge regional differences and all of the things that go on in the different parts of the country. But there are certain characteristics which you'll see in my write-up that relate to that history. And the most important thing about styling is, and Susan just said this, you're a team of 8 people. If you're not dancing with all the same style, you're somewhere along the way having hand battles. And dancing here is one of the things that I consider. Last night I was going, okay, am I doing a swing through with my hands down here? Am I doing a swing through with a forearm? Or am I doing a swing through with my hands up? All right? Quite honestly, I can dance any one of those styles. If you're going to have a square dancing in style, they all have to be consistent. Okay? So you have to get into a square, and we actually do this with our exhibition team. We'll get into the square and we're going, okay, oh, there's 4 of us. Okay, hands up, because we like to dance hands up. That means everything hands up, including right and left throughs and square throughs and right and left grands, because that's where we started. In the 70s, as I started to teach, and CALLERLAB began to create definitions, we changed our method of teaching to the CALLERLAB definitions. And what does that mean? That means things like right and left grands are handshakes, right and left throughs are handshakes. It means that men's hands are on the bottom, ladies' hands are on top. It means ladies' chains are handshakes for the ladies, man's palm up, ladies' palm down for the gents. Now, all of this is styling. And when you read the definitions, the CALLERLAB definitions, you see, well, what is the styling written down? They talk about dance position. This is dance position. Okay? It's lady's hand on top of man's hand, and usually not joined over here. So you have this dance position. Now, if we go on with that and say, okay, let's not get into the details of which hand position we're using or which part of the country we're in, because that's an argument no one is going to win at the moment. But my main point that I wrote up was, if you have a square, you have to understand, no matter where people came from, if you want it to look good, they all need to dance the same styling. Last year at the National, I was doing an awful lot of dancing down here because the Northeast has a lot of dancing down here. And I suppose if I'm going to Florida, I'm going to get a lot of arms. Those are the realities. But if you want a square to look really good, everyone has to use the same. All right? Now, as a person, And when we talk about dancing, we go back to some teachings from the Shaw world, in that, one, we're going to lean forward onto the balls of our feet. Our heels are off the floor, and it's tough on carpet to show this, but we're basically able to do this. It's harder in this. And we're going to stand tall and put our head up, and we're going to look at people, and we're going to act like there's a string tied to our breastbone that's aimed up there. And then we're going to dance. See how that smooths out? See how smooth that is? If you can teach your dancers to do that. Now, if we dance like this, heels down, jumping up and down, what's the difference? Which do you like best? What makes you look good? What is going to make dancers look and feel good and dance better? One part of it's the choreography, but another part of it is all about how you hold yourself and how you enjoy dancing. And we have been told, and we try to do this, that we exude joy. And that is because we really, truly love what we do. And when we're dancing, we can dance smoothly, slide our feet, move to the music, and so on. Now, on individual pieces of choreography, when you look at the dance style of a particular figure, say a right and left through, and I say, okay, we're going to do this without the other couple, but imagine if they're there. So we're doing a right and left through. We're doing a right pull by. I'm falling a little behind, and the pivot point is directly between us as we courtesy turn. We'll do it back. Right, I fall a little behind, and the pivot point is directly between us as we courtesy turn. It's not a courtesy turn, or it's not a right and left through. We're going to do it wrong. It's not a right and left through where I stand here and make her go around me, and it's not that. Notice how smooth the other one was, and that was without other people. But the difference is where's the pivot point? Pivot point is right here on a right and left through. We were dancing at the Community Dance Leader Seminar over the weekend, and we were doing a lot of ladies' chains and right and left throughs with courtesy turns. And I was going, okay, they're not keeping it here. I didn't mention it, but it was not here. It was about here. Those men were making those ladies move around. And then we were out of position because we were not lined up with the other couple. This stuff, you're going, okay, so that doesn't help us do right and left throughs better. But if you don't teach this well enough, the dancers won't be successful enough. And that's really the issue that we're doing here. So that's one piece of styling associated with it. Now, the other thing is can I have all the ladies stand up? Okay. And ladies, gents, you could do this if you want to. I want you to hold out your hand, and I want you to hold your hand as if you had just dropped a handkerchief out of your thumb and index finger. If you just drop a handkerchief, your fingers are out, okay? If you stand there and bend your elbow a little bit, not this way, bend it sort of where your elbow is coming down. if you can. So if you're looking pretty, you can have your hand out here and it can be gorgeous, okay? If you're wearing a full enough skirt like Alan is, she can do effectively the same thing with a skirt. All right? Now, a star promenade this way, or a skirt skater's promenade, looks really nice, doesn't it? Okay? Notice my hand is palm up. Notice my hand is in the small of her back. This is styling. This is something we don't teach anymore. We say, okay, put your hand on the back of the lady. All right? I I came out of the vintage where we were teaching 40 weeks of lessons. When you taught 40 weeks of lessons, you spent time on styling because you had time to do it. When you're trying to teach mainstream in 12 to 15 weeks, this is one of the things that gets left behind, along with courtesy and history and a few other topics. So that's off our current topic list, but Susan's going to keep me honest here. But I think that's really important to think about, is that we don't teach this because we don't have time, because we're told we don't have time to teach it. Yes, you may.
Can I add something? One, if you can do the good styling that they just showed, particularly like with the right or left through or the promenade, you don't get as tired, and you can dance more, and it looks better. And the gliding step saves knees and hips for all of you dancers that have trouble with knees and hips.
So we didn't go into, if you go into the definitions as they're written and you read the styling section, it's not very much in most cases. It's the classic hand position. If you face me, okay, if you've done equivalent to a touch quarter, you're here, and that's all it says. Now, there's a couple of things about hand position. If you've done a touch quarter, I want you to look at the thumbs. They're tucked in. The only, there's this hand position for opposite-facing dancers, where the thumbs are loose on the back of the hand and the fingers are against fingers. There's the palm-to-palm with the thumbs tucked in. The one that is absolutely not recommended is what we refer to as the thumb grip. So, as a styling, this is something I walk around the floor and move people's thumbs. I will do this. Okay? Because everyone at one time or another has had their thumb pulled. And it's usually pulled by a well-meaning newer dancer who's nervous. And that's all you need to know about it, okay? Now, so there's these two. And the forearm, the other thing about forearm is we tend to get forearms that are like this. Well, the forearms that are like this don't give you anything to do, okay? Because we're just slipping, and then people grab. And then we get the bruise here and the bruise here from the thumb, okay? So the way you guard against that, you get close enough so that this arm is at a right angle. And then I can pull on her forearm and she can pull on mine, and we can turn around really fast because we're counter dancing. Does that make sense? All right. Doesn't matter whether it's right or left. We can go around. And my thumb isn't even in contact because our arms are. Okay? I know it doesn't say anything. Yes? Hold. We got a recording going on. So here comes the microphone. Yeah, help him out there.
Chuck Simpkins from Grants Pass, Oregon. You and your partner is symmetrically solid, okay?
Right.
You get dancing with dancers that are taller and smaller. That forearm is, and I see it all the time, and I pick on my little dancers about it, but my wife alone will get the bruise on the back of the elbow from grabbing a guy's grabbing so far behind that becomes a bruise behind that elbow. Symmetrically, you guys are great. Get any other difference, and that can happen right there.
So when I'm teaching, I purposely say neither hand goes beyond the elbow. So yes, we could both do this, and you're right, we have a gentleman that dances with us who's 6'4" in his stocking feet, 6'8" in his stocking feet. He's tall. I'm always looking up like this, and he's got long forearms, and we have some very small ladies, but he knows about reaching basically to the inside of the elbow rather than that. So it's an important point.
Yeah, this is Susan Morris. I just say halfway between wrist and elbow so that
Well, the biggest
That's
thing is what I've been
halfway.
encountering here a lot is this, which gives you nothing. What you've got is, I would rather have this than a wrist grip. And I'd much rather have this when it's a forearm and this when it's a hand. Because the halfway in between is something that is just totally unpredictable and has no... This actually, I think I'm going to hurt somebody by accident. And this is all about safety. It's all about smoothness and the style in which we dance. All right? So, if you have significant height differences, one of the young callers that's here this week, she's about yay tall. If she was dancing with somebody a lot taller, and we have a young lady in class that's about yay tall, maybe, there's a point where you don't go for forearms, you go for hands. And it's okay. She's coming up and as high as she can, and the hand is either coming from the bottom or from the top, depending upon the size of the gent in that case. So you adjust. And you don't get overly, particularly if they're younger dancers, you don't get excited about it. When you go through the list of the definitions and the styling that is in those definitions, you look at them and go, okay, so what's the styling on Skirt Skater's Promenade? What's the styling on a Star Promenade? Star Promenade, you have the star, and the outside dancer's inside hand is theoretically on the shoulder from the back of the gent. Now, when you find a lot of height differences, you may find that arm is underneath. That's fine. Particularly if it's if you're doing a Star Promenade in the other direction, it may be this way. So if she's in the star and I'm on the outside, it doesn't really matter who it is. This is the Star Promenade position. It doesn't matter whether they're the same gender or opposite gender. It still is the Star Promenade position. I tend not to be able to, and a lot of guys probably can't come across and put their hand on the inside shoulder as easily as they can on the opposite shoulder. Some of them can. Get my shoulder in here. Anyway, so being aware of that as a styling point. I'm trying to think of some of the other.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Along with that, with your resting your hand on somebody's shoulder, is you have to dance your own dance and hold up your own weight. It's not to lean on it. The other with arm turns is no spaghetti arms. You need to have some weight. Dead fish, spaghetti arms, you have to have some weight behind so that the other dancers know there's a body at the other end of that arm.
So, two or three little things here. When we talk about swings, and swings is something that both my wife and I fully enjoy. We don't really like to count swings or even 4-count swings. We really enjoy 8 to 12 count swings, but we don't get those in square dancing. We have to go to a contra dance to get that. Last night we had some wonderful 12 count swings with the zesty contra, which I think all of you missed except us. All right. So when you swing, and how many of you feel you're good at teaching swing? All right. Let me tell you my way, and you can balance it against what you do. Most important thing is if I walk up and I go like this, and can I swing? Why not? My feet. Oh, I got a problem with my feet? All right. Do you think I need to get my right little toes opposite each other? Is this? All right. Turn it this way so you can see it. All right. So if we swing like this, are we going to swing nicely? All right. Why is it a problem? Are you opposite footwork of me? You're supposed to be. You weren't supposed to fix it. All right, so there's a couple of things, and I'll quit being funny here. Most important thing is it's not the shoulder, it's the hip. She needs to pull her hip in so that it's adjacent to mine. We need to act as if there's a pole that runs vertically between our right hips. And what was causing the problem is she started on her right foot and I started on my left. All right. So I always tell people, you're going to put your weight on your outside foot, and you're going to step on your partner's heel if you can. All right? You get that? All right? So I'm going to step. I'm trying to step on her heel, but she keeps moving her foot. All right? If I do it that way, everyone's going to be successful in a walk-around swing. All right? Does that make sense? I don't know whether it matches what you do or not. Doesn't matter. But if you think about swing being, first of all, the little toe on my right foot is close to hers, but not lined up with it. And I'm going to take that foot, and I'm going to try to step on her heel while she's trying to step on mine. And I describe it that way because people can get it that way. Now, the fun thing about this, notice her hip is tucked in, her right hip, and I'm walking forward, and I'm trying not to get dizzy, and so is she, okay? But does that make sense? If you do it that way, you can move into doing a more exciting swing very quickly, because you can say, okay, let's speed that up a little bit, and let's push the scooter a little bit, and you can begin going faster and faster, and this is a terrible floor to do this on. But if you do that, are you standing up? Yeah. Good. If you do it that way, you can then turn it into pushing a skateboard, pushing a scooter around, and you can get it to go faster. In the definitions of swing, there's about 5 pages of how to do this, where to do this, under what conditions to do this. The simplicity of what I just showed is what you're going to be able to convey. About 4 or 5 years ago, Clark Baker and I were in a hall at a national convention, and he would swing me, and then I would swing him, and I'd say, no, it's not that hand hold, it's this hand hold, and this is how you have your hips turned, and nobody wanted to watch. But we got a great detailed definition of some of the different characteristics of swing done in different forms and formats out of that. Yes?
With her, Chuck Simpkins, Grants Pass, Oregon, again.
Yes?
When she has her hip tucked in like that, how much of her weight do you actually have?
Not very much.
Try that again. I want to check that
out. So the other thing is that when you swing, you're not necessarily leaning back, but the faster you go,
the more leaning you do.
The more the arm knows that she's there. I will say that. But you don't. The most important thing is you can't. If there's nothing here, she can't. We can't swing in that smoothness that we were trying to do. So there has to be some opposite dancing, some counter dancing in here. If there isn't, now, and I love all the ladies, I really do, but I would dearly love them to trust me. That is probably the best way that I could say it is, trust me, ladies, I will not drop you. And we will swing far more beautifully if you will trust my right hand. Now, I can swing without my left hand. It's not a part of what's necessary in the swing. Because she's got her hip in, I can swing this way the same way I could when her hand was there. Okay? Because this hand here is helping her keep it in, it's the lead hand. It's the hand that's telling her when I'm going to stop. It's all about my right hand, gentlemen. If I want her to roll promenade, it's as easy as that. Okay? If I want her to roll back, it's as easy as that. This is my hand of suggestion. Not demand, gentlemen. Suggestion. I release my fingers, and she rolls out. I push a little with my fingers, she rolls back. If she knows about the palm of my hand, she can feel the palm of my hand, and she can feel the ends of my fingers. And I'm not digging into her back. I'm gently have them hand. When I increase the pressure, she rolls in. When I decrease the pressure, she rolls out. This, gentlemen, is the way you lead a swing. It's the way you lead a lot of this kind of dancing. And if you're not teaching your gentlemen about that, you're denying them some part that will make them feel like the gentleman that they should be in a square dance.
Well, I notice where you're placing your right hand, I teach it differently, and I do look at the definitions all the time, and that your hand is a lot lower than what I teach.
Okay.
Okay, that's kind of what I look at, and also gives the stability of that swing, especially if you're going faster.
So you're right, and there are two camps of this. There is the round dance world, international folk dance world, that has your hand right under the elbow or right under the shoulder, and the hand on the shoulder blade. Okay, there's that line, and the principle of the hand and the palm and the fingers is the same. It's just the hand position. What happens with most guys, and you have to ward them against that if you teach this, is the ladies end up doing this. Okay, they end up leaning in because the gentlemen are pulling. Okay, and if you're down here, you don't get as much of that. Now, we could fight all day about which is right and which is wrong. It doesn't matter. What matters is what works. And what matters is that you want the ladies, when you're swinging and you're doing that fast swing on a nice floor, you want to be able to lean back and smile at each other. And the more you can look at each other's eyes, the less you're going to get dizzy. And so if you're looking here, and if she can't stand to look at you, tell her to look at your bolo, because that's what it's there for. Question over here.
Connie Laudeman, Las Vegas. I do the boys' part as well, so I swing. As a matter of fact, I've been told I swing better than a lot of the guys, but in the guys' position. But I've found that I have to have it down at the waist, or the lady tends to back away or lean back a little bit too much, and there's no control if you don't have it down there. Up higher, it just doesn't seem to work for me, and I don't get as good a swing.
Yeah. It's distribution of weight.
Cal Camel, distribution of weight. In other words, if you got your hand up too high, guess what goes out? If you got it down too low, guess what happens? It's distribution. Yeah. Yeah, he says you get slapped.
So the other thing is, so I don't want to spend all day on a swing, but I did want to talk about it a little bit because it is one of those things that gives you style. And now the other thing is about twirls. Yes.
Oh, before we go away from swings, if we all teach our dancers this or similar to this, that boys are walking forward, girls are walking forward, but you all of a sudden see them doing bad habits. Like all of a sudden this year I had girls backing up when they're swinging. It's like, girls, what in the world are you doing? Stop it. Talk to them individually, take another teaching session on swing, try to keep them from avoiding starting bad habits.
The reason why we've lost swing is because we haven't taught swing. That would be my opinion. You want...
Chuck. All right. Chuck Simpkins, Grants Pass again. I specifically take time out to demo
Yes.
a swing. And I jokingly, tell the girls that if he's swinging you and that hand goes down too low, you've got the other hand that's right there by the shoulder, poke him in the ear, all right? Do something to get his attention to get it in the right spot. Let them know.
Yeah, I already tell people that she's got a good left hook. Just beware.
So you have to take that time out and actually demo, in my opinion, demo the swing. And actually, you might even have to move around the room if you have that many squares to show that.
Yes. The comment I would make is don't do it just once. Because you might do it a first night, you might do it a third night, you might do it a fifth night, you might do it a 10th night, depending upon your teaching sequence. Another. Yes, we want it to be an interactive session, so the more input we get, the better.
Risha Schlitter from Cary, North Carolina. Obviously, it takes a lot of time and effort to teach a proper swing. What do you think the role of a swing is when you do like one-off open house, fun dance? Do you ever teach swings?
I do not. Or if I do, if there's a swing in it, I'm going to do this kind of a swing. Because I can come out into a promenade, or I can come out to a circle. And one of the other things is I can do this with any gender, and there's not an issue here. So if you can do an open one, but you don't have as much control, you can do it like a circle and turn out. But if you can do it, shake hands, reach underneath, shake the other hand. Now, put the right foot in and buzz. You can go around just as fast with this one as you can with the other one. It's a lot of fun. But you got to get people to do it. And I tend not to use swings at all, which causes me a lot of problems when I want to do contra dances. Cal wants to. Yes.
I don't do swings. Cal Campbell. I don't do swings at parties.
Yeah.
There is too much danger in the fact that you're going to be able to find people that can't do it that are going to injure themselves. And it's going to happen whether you want it to happen or not. And so I eliminate it. I don't use swings.
So you know that for those of you who know me, Cal and I do a lot of dance parties. And if we're using circle left, circle right, forward and back, arm turns, do-sa-do, maybe a couple of other things, we're using less than 10 calls to have a great time for 2 hours. And we do it by a variety of formations, a variety of other things. Come to next year's Community Dance Leader Seminar and you'll hear more about it. But the point is there are things we don't do that, and we have adaptations to things that allows us to accomplish what we need without things that are either dangerous or difficult that they will not be immediately successful with in those kinds of forums. And that's really the key. They're there to have fun, not to learn how to do mainstream square dancing. That's not what their purpose is. So let's go on.
To twirls.
The twirls. So let's see here. Let's say we'll go from swings. If we're going to swing and we're going to turn, we're going to swing around, and if I'm going to promenade in the direction behind me, I'm going to start the twirl about here. And I'm going to do it so you can see it here. I'm going to do it by lowering my hand a bit, and as I bring it back up, I'm going to be turning backwards so that she can turn under the arm and go around, and I can merge right into it. It's as important to know where to start a twirl out of a swing as it is to know how to twirl. So if we're swinging and I'm getting around about here, I'm starting the twirl. And that's in slow motion so you can see it. All right. So I'm going around, signal, twirl, and everybody says, well, how did I change hands? Do you see where I changed hands? Yes, I got her around here, and I twirled her around. I was able to bring the hand down, and I could just take her hand in mine, and we could go on around. You cannot, for example, if we're doing a swing at home, and we're going to twirl into a promenade, I'm going to finish the twirl somewhere over here. It's about a quarter, maybe a little more, depending upon how fast it is. You cannot, if you decide to swing at home and you twirl at home, you got to be careful because you got to bring her right here. I actually don't recommend twirling at home. You twirl into home. If we're promenading, and this is another twirl, if we're promenading, let's see. We can be in three. So, all right. So we're going to twirl out. We're going to twirl out as if we're the number 3 couple. So we're going to go around 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay.
Notice that he drops his hand to give LN the signal that they're going to start into a turn. Watch it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That tells the lady that she's going to start her turn.
So this is, some of this is because we've been dancing, performance dancing, for close to 40 years. Susan asked me how many years I've been calling, and she's been dancing 52 years. I've been calling for 43. So we've been down a couple of roads. Cal's got me beat, but Cal and Judy's got me beat. But we've been down this, another over here. Because we performance dance, we talk about when do you signal, how do you lead it, who's leading, who's following. And it's important. People say, well, square dancing doesn't require that the man do lead. Wrong. Not in our world. Our world, the men do lead. The left-hand dancer is a lead. They lead. Okay? Even when she's dancing the ladies' part, she's leading if she's dancing the left-hand part. Go ahead.
Rick Manning, California, Westminster, California.
Yes.
I teach straight as well as gay clubs.
Okay.
And I noticed the difference between the two. When I teach the swing and also the twirl out, I tell the ladies that you're going to be out in front of that man. The man's leading you out in front. The gay community is always right beside me. I don't know why, and I cannot break them of that habit. Suggestion?
Is this like a swing twirl to a promenade?
Yes.
Okay.
Swing twirl and a swing twirl at home. They never lead the girl. It's a swing and twirl as they're coming out of the promenade, and it's also a swing at home. They're doing it right beside them. They're never leading the girl out in front, especially in the gay community.
Okay.
And the straight community, I can get the gals out there and the men to lead them out in front.
A little bit. Probably most of those people dance both spots, and they don't understand the variances between the two, because they are counter, and they need to begin to understand. And the only way you're going to do it is by talking to the group and saying, okay, remember when you're the lead, this is what your role is. When you're in the follow position, this is what you should be doing. And if you're truly dancing both parts, you need to learn how to dance those parts in that way. Now, will they change? Probably not. But at least you've done your teaching job of expressing it. I guess I could lean over and...
Alan Riggs, Centennial, Colorado. You need to teach that right-hand dancer or demonstrate to everybody the visual difference and the physical difference between the leading it so that the twirl continues around that circle, or the twirl is a 4-count move, and it is down line of dance.
it doesn't cause as much trouble with balance as one that's right here. That's a spin. It's not a twirl. So you can say, we don't want to suggest that you do a spin. We want you to do a twirl, which is, it's a moving figure. It's not an in-place figure. When I get twirled and the gent has stopped to twirl me, everybody else is stacked up behind us.
So the other thing about twirls to be in mind, and this is a rather important characteristic. This hand can't be here. For her to twirl, it needs to be here. Now, what is this? And I use this term. This is a sky hook. This is not a crank.
This is where the left hook comes in. If you get cranked, you can make a suggestion.
When you're teaching, when you're talking about twirls, make sure that the ladies are holding their hand up. Now, if the ladies will push their hand at the top, if the lady's hair is getting messed, it's her fault. Because she didn't push up on that hand as long as it's over her head. Okay? Does that make sense? I tell the story, and it's off-center. I tell the story. There was a lady who danced with Jim Barr's Round Dance Club. She always wore 4-inch heels. She was probably 6'2" in her stocking feet, and in the time it was late 70s, she always wore a hairdo that was at least 4 inches. She was way up there for this 5'8" guy. All right? She never bent over. She did sometimes come down at the knees, but she never did this because she was a good dancer. Again, that has to do with styling, ladies. When you're short, you don't have this problem unless you're dancing with somebody who's really short. But when you're tall, guys, ladies, and there are ladies out there. Susan's pretty tall.
Yep. Always stand up straight. Be
Yes.
proud.
Yes.
Carla Simpkins, Grants Pass. I'm 5'3". I've danced with 6-foot gentlemen who knock my glasses off my head.
Well,
I've got my arm as far as I can. It happens.
yes, it does. I don't want to de-emphasize that at all. All right, so here's a pet peeve, and I know it's a pet peeve of Cal's because he's said it more than once. When you're standing in the square and the caller says side space grand square, how many counts does it take to get back here? How many counts does the average square take to get back here? What's the least you've ever heard? 16. And they didn't. And it's totally amazing. All right, if you're going to do this with style, number one, it takes 16 counts to go each direction. Number two, what do you do with your hands? All right, notice we're joined here. If we go 1, 2, 3, turn, I'm getting another hand. 1, 2, 3, turn, I've got no hands. Now what do I do with my hands? I sometimes will go here for the men and out for the ladies, whether they have a skirt or not. 1, 2, 3, turn, 4, and 1, 2, 3. Now, I may do any number of things. I may do a little bounce to acknowledge. I may do a hand to pat a cake to get away. Only when I get put into doing a swing do I do a swing. When the lady's insisting. And then I back away. 3, turn, 1, 2, 3, and turn, 1, 2, 3, and turn, 1, 2, 3, and Now, there's all sorts of things you can do to try to help people. I don't know whether you've ever watched Clark do a grand square when he's thinking about it, but he'll go 1, 2, 3, bum bum, 1, 2, 3, bum bum, 1, 2, 3, bum bum, 1, 2, 3. No, it doesn't. You do it as you turn. It's just there, and what it is I often do cha-chas on the corner because it allows me to accentuate it, and as callers, I would encourage you to make sure you're taking 4 steps on the side. The other night I was dancing, and the lady was my opposite, and we did a grand square, and I'll do it this way. Did a grand square, and everyone was doing normal and stuff, and she's already there, and I'm standing here, and she's looking like I'm doing something wrong because I'm not there with her. Okay, so I walk up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she reverses, and she's moving too fast, and now she's waiting for me. And then and sometimes she even falls back without me. So what I said earlier about a square dancing together, if you can emphasize that this is a team sport and you need to do it together and the calls take a certain amount of time, that would be my comment about it. Because when you see a whole square do a grand square in unison, it's really cool. Over the weekend, we were showing people how to do a progressive grand square, and we were doing them. We've done men face grand squares and ladies face grand squares, and none of those work if you don't take 32 counts to do it.
I would just add, when Larry and I are dancing together, we take the proper amount of time, and the others, our opposites, are always like, "Oh, where are you?" But once they see that we're slowing down, then they slow down also.
Yeah.
So dance, be the example.
Show the cha-cha. All right. So let's go. And it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1. Now, is that styling? Yes. Is it some way to get people to do 4 steps on the side? Yes. Is it a variant of what we normally do? Yes. Will it change what people's behavior is? Not
Maybe.
likely. But will people have fun with it? Yes. Will they remember what our point is? Yes. So if they change, that's their choice as dancers. But at least we've made an attempt to say this is what really happens. So, yes.
Warren Gaskill, Rainbow Squares, Bellingham, Washington. One of the things that I use when I find that grand square starts falling apart, especially early in lessons, is I'll teach them on the turn, clap. You get them the dancers doing a uniform, synchronized clap, they will stay in time.
Yeah, clapping is another one besides the cha-cha as a mechanism, and we have used that too. Do you clap on 4 or on 1? On 4. Okay, just checking. So I've got 2 different topics, and we've got about 10 minutes left. Susan, do you got more to add here?
Nope.
Okay, are you good?
I'm good.
All right. The 2 topics are this. We've been talking about the skills of what you would teach in a class and what would you teach normal dancers. You should know that there are a lot more flourishes and a lot more things you do when you move from regular dancing to performance level dancing. And when you move to performance level dancing, there are a lot more flourishes that are done with twirls, and there are a lot more skirt work for the ladies. And so when you do a grand square, ladies, you might do it with your hands out and the men's hands behind, just below the belt. And you might start out like this, and you go 4. Go 1, 2, 3, turn. 1, 2, 3, turn. 1, 2, 3, turn. 1, 2, 3. So there's things you do to make it look good in the styling. When you do things like a lady's chain in skirt work, watch her right hand. She's going to do a figure 8 as she leaves before she does the right hand pull by. So go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Did you see what she did, ladies? She brought the hand over, down, up, and down. All right. So, and any time, whether it's a right and left through or a lady's chain, that skirt work is just one of those flary things that can be done. All right. Again, if you're in a performance or a competitive situation, you actually want all the ladies to do the same thing at the same time to the same count of the music. The other thing that we didn't start off talking about is when you performance dance, you want everyone, ladies included, to step off on your left foot on the one beat of the music. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That makes us all dancing together. If somebody steps off on their right foot on 1, they're going to be out of sync with everybody else. If one steps off on their left foot and another couple steps off on their right foot, then you got this thing going like this. It's like an out of tilt. It's a tilted square, so to speak. So one of the things we teach right off the bat is if you're going to circle left, start with your left foot. Go, circle left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Circle to the right. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Go forward and back. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Listen to your music. It's hard to do without music. But if you listen to your music and you can dance with your left foot on 1s and 3s, the whole thing looks better and feels better. That's the only thing you do.
Cal Campbell, once again. What we teach in performance dancing, what used to be done by all square dancers, that when you stepped into the square and the music started, you started a 4-count balance. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We taught the dancers to start the command after they finished the balance. This means that all 4 dancers start the motion at the same time. Okay, what happens now, when I say head 2, right and left through, it's a race.
Well,
it's a race.
Not only is it a race, but 1 and 3 were standing on their toes, and 1 was standing on their toes, and 2 was standing on their heels. So 1 moved into the middle on the 1 count,
right,
and the other, the number 3, had to come off their heels. So how many beats did they lose?
2.
They lost 2.
Right.
So instantly we've got this out of whack situation because not everybody moved at the same time.
And if we could change one single thing in square dancing to improve square dancing, it would be to start reteaching the balance. Just this balance forward movement. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Head 2, right, lift through. Everybody goes at the same time. See what I'm getting at? And this makes a huge difference on what the floor does. It makes a huge difference to you as a caller. Because if you've got everybody started at the same time, then you can pace your timing, and the whole floor will be with you.
So, moving to sort of go ahead with this question.
Helen Alley, Portland, Oregon. How do you teach the dancers that little balancing skill on 1, 2, 3, 4.
So the most important thing is you get people to say, okay, everybody stand on your right foot.
Right.
Swing your left foot. Okay? Now, what we want to do is we want to step forward on that left foot, and now we want to swing the right foot up to it and back. Now we want to bring that left foot back and forward. Up and back, back and forward. Up and back, back and forward. And then you suddenly find yourself, you don't want, I can't even do it. So you don't want them, you want them to stand tall in place, and what we're doing is everything's from the waist down. So we're forward and swing, back and swing, forward and swing. Okay? So that's all there is to it. Now, in the balancing definitions that talks about balances, they talk about different kind of balances. This is a regular forward step, back step balance, 4-count balance. There are 2-step balances, and they look like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm changing weight on each side. And if I switch back, notice I'm doing the same thing. I'm moving the same way. It's just the number of steps that I'm taking. So the piece of music that Susan had on was pretty quick. You got anything that's a little slower for this poor guy?
2 other components. Number 1, you have to turn the volume of music up enough that the dancers can hear it. Because what's happening today, I'm deaf. I can hear you talking, but I can't hear the music. On 90% of the callers, I can't hear the music. Okay, so you start up and you say, okay, get them into what Bob is talking about and get them used to the fact that you start the music. Wait a little bit. Wait a little bit. The other thing that's got to be done is you have to pick out music that's in 8-count phrases. If you pick out some of the stuff that's done today, and particularly the older music, you're picking music up that's in 2 to 4-count beats.
All right, so listen to this music. You know where the 1 beats are? 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's all there is to it. Now, if you get people to recognize where the 1 beats, put on a different piece of music. Can you please? All right. We're almost out of time, and I did want to cover one more thing. Pick something. All right. So, you as a caller should have no trouble picking out 1 beats of the music you select. I'll bet you Susan doesn't even have one that's harder to select. That's accessible. All right, that's enough. It is 2 o'clock. All right. So we're going to let Susan do a couple of wrap-up things, but the one thing I wanted to say is beyond the stuff we've been talking about, the next part that would take another 15 to 20 minutes to talk about would be what I would talk about is delivery of calls. If you can't deliver the calls in a timely manner that allows the dancers to move from one motion to the next smoothly, you have stopped styling. You have prevented styling from occurring. If you do a square through 4 and you don't say swing through or right and left through with the appropriate timing, such that their body positions are allowed to evolve and they can move between, they're going to fail or they're not going to look good. So part of styling is you as a caller's problem. And that's all about delivery. And yes, I could talk another 20 minutes on that topic.
Right, or we could have a whole different session on that
Yes.
topic. Okay, so a big hand for Bob and Ellen Ricks.
Big hand for
All right.
Susan.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you all for coming.
There are handouts up here on the table?
Right. There's handouts. They're side by side. I think they're side by side. Right. Side by side. So, thank you all for coming. Have a great rest of your convention. We'll see you around.